You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, Episode 10, Fatigue in Menopause. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause and menopause related. Stay tuned as naturopath Jennifer Harrington explains how to use natural therapies to transform your health and happiness. Hello! This week we are celebrating two big milestones. The first one is our 10th anniversary episode, woohoo! And also our 1000th download. Yes, there's a little baby steps on the way to success, but I finally stopped talking about wanting to have a podcast so I can reach and help more women. And I'm actually doing it. Action deserves celebration. Are there things in your life that you want to do but keep putting off? Maybe it's a holiday or something that you've always wanted to do, like learn a second language or even play a musical instrument. Well, today should be that day, ladies. It's time to start living, and that starts with taking little action steps that bring you closer to your goal. To celebrate my action, I'm giving away a 3-month personalised consultation package to work with myself. This is valued at $995 Australian dollars. This includes 4 Skype consultations over a 3-month period. During these consultations, we are going to discuss your individual symptom picture. We're going to look at what testing might be relevant for you. I'm going to optimize your diet and nutrition. We're going to look at the role of environmental medicine and lifestyle modification and put together a treatment plan that is personalized for you. As the clinic is Skype-based, this competition is open to everyone. Well, everyone that has access to Wi-Fi anyway. What you have to do to be in the running is to subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast, hopefully 5 stars, but if you don't think it deserves it, don't give it. Review the podcast. Let me know in a sentence or two what you think about the show. And finally, you need to copy and paste your review and add it to my Facebook page. And if you've previously reviewed the podcast, thank you. I've loved reading all the reviews that have come in so far. Just copy and paste your current reviews. I wanted to read a few just so you get an idea of what people are currently saying, and really a big thank you to everyone who has already done this. So Adoring Alice said, just beginning to realise that I need to start paying attention to the M word. Jennifer makes it easy to understand and get thinking on how I want to handle the next stage of life. Excellent tips and ideas. Thank you, Adoring Alice. Lat1110 said, enjoying, thanks. Could you talk about medical menopause, especially for those with BRCA? So guys, just so you know, BRCA1 and 2 are genes that increase the risk of developing breast or ovarian cancer. They are also linked with an earlier onset of menopause. Please note that having this gene doesn't mean that you will get cancer, but many women are scared because of the increased risk and choose to have a medical menopause. By medical menopause, I mean that they have a hysterectomy, or they surgically remove their ovaries, and quite often they surgically remove their breasts as well. This is not necessarily what I would recommend doing, but it's such an individual issue that I would prefer to speak to you privately about your own case rather than recommending that everyone does or doesn't do this. I'm very much into personalised medicine, and I do understand that the BRCA gene is quite scary for women, especially if you've watched family members suffer with breast cancer. On a personal note, I have breast cancer in both my mum and my dad's side of the family, and I have had genetic testing, but I have chosen not to check for the BRCA gene. It's just something that I don't want to know. I assume I probably do have it, but looking at my diet and my lifestyle and my nutritional intake, I'm actually not concerned about developing breast cancer, and I don't want the fear of having the gene to to affect the way I live my life. But it's a personal choice. Some people don't realise the implications when they do the test, and other people really just want to know so they can potentially prepare themselves for what they want to do afterwards. But you've really got to remember that having the gene doesn't equal the disease. It just equals the risk. And if you have tested it and it is positive, I just want you to think of it as motivation. So things that other people can get away with, you can't. You really have to be dedicated to working on your health on all levels. You need to look at the environment that you live in. You need to look at the food on your plate, the supplements, and there are some testing, and I particularly like looking at things like urinary iodine, which may not have been something I've discussed yet, but when we do the breast health topic, I certainly will go into that in more detail. But the other concern with having a medical menopause is just that you've thrown your body into a menopausal state where usually you have perimenopause, which is a 10-year journey on average prior to leading into menopause. And during this stage, your body is adapting and transitioning and preparing for lower amounts of hormones, where this can be a bit of a slap in the face. I have worked with women that have had medical menopauses, and they do find that the symptoms tend to come on harder and faster. But I find that the strategies that I use for a natural menopause works for a medical menopause as well. So today, by public demand, we are talking about energy, or more so lack of energy or fatigue. Did you know I have a private Facebook group? I recently put a poll about what topics you wanted covered, and fatigue was the clear winner, followed by weight and memory. So stay tuned to hear about weight and memory, because they're coming soon. Fatigue is so multifactorial and will be different from every woman. Some of the common causes are easy to rule out with a blood test, and I certainly recommend that you get these. And they include iron, whether it's high or low, can cause fatigue, vitamin D, vitamin B12. I recommend a blood sugar panel, and a blood sugar panel I would generally include glucose, insulin, and HbA1c. A thyroid function test, and with this I wouldn't just do TSH, I'd also do free T3, 3T4, and your thyroid antibodies. Sometimes I'll even do reverse T3. ANA is a good marker of autoimmunity, so that's a good one to throw on at this point. Cortisol levels. With cortisol testing, though, you don't just want one test once. Cortisol should rise and should peak and trough during the day. So we really want to see at least 4 different times where your cortisol level has been checked so we can see what that pattern is. And generally saliva is a better way to do it over blood, but I've seen it done with blood tests too. A liver function test. Other tests that you want to think about is things like sleep apnea, if your fatigue is related to poor sleep. HTMA, which is a hair tissue mineral analysis to investigate for toxic metals, or even a GP or tox test to investigate for chemical exposure. The problem we have with toxins is that a lot of them get stored in your bones, and as your bone turnover is increasing as you age, more old toxins are being re-released into the bloodstream, making you feel tired as your liver is trying to process them once again. But probably the biggest cause of fatigue is mitochondrial dysfunction. Think of your mitochondria as the batteries in your cells. They provide the power. If they are out of charge, so are you. Technically, they produce energy by the process of oxidative phosphorylation, where nutrients are converted into adenosine triphosphate, or ATP for short. Unfortunately, DNA in your mitochondria is very prone to damage. This damage results from external mechanisms such as environmental or pharmacological toxins, and internal mechanisms such as being exposed to reactive oxygen species. Common signs of mitochondrial damage include fatigue, pain, weakness, depression. And mitochondrial fatigue is not relieved by rest. Heads up, this is one of the rare times I don't test. The best way to test for mitochondrial dysfunction involves a muscle biopsy, where I find clinical signs are just as useful. So if your fatigue is not relieved by rest, it's something that you should be working on. Okay, let's chat about solutions. So my favourite mitochondrial kickstart nutrients include CoQ10, but I really prefer the ubiquinol form. Glutathione or even glutathione antioxidant building blocks, nutrients such as selenium and N-acetylcysteine, which is also known as NAC or NAC, as they are building blocks to produce glutathione. Magnesium. You guys will hear me talk about magnesium probably every episode because it is my most prescribed mineral. So in this case, high intracellular calcium and low intracellular magnesium is linked to mitochondrial damage. So we want to reverse that. So magnesium, magnesium, magnesium. You can bath in it. You can put creams on. You can take it as a supplement. You really can't, actually you can get too much. Signs that you've got too much magnesium are a loose bowel movement. And I've only ever seen that with the high dose supplements. I've never seen it with baths or with topical applications. All right, next is an amino acid called acetyl-L-carnitine. So L-carnitine is a fat transporter. It actually moves the fuel into the mitochondria to be burnt as energy. Other beneficial mitochondrial revitalizing nutrients include vitamin B2, vitamin B3, vitamin E, and alpha-lipoic acid. If you have a history of Epstein-Barr virus, or EBV, it's also worth considering supplements such as L-lysine to reduce your viral load. EBV is a well-known mitochondrial damager and is linked to the development of chronic fatigue syndrome, or CFS. Depression, stress, and prolonged anxiety are also causes of fatigue. In episode 6, we talked about moods in details. Respiratory disease, cardiovascular disease, adrenal issues, reproductive hormone imbalances are other causes of fatigue. Tip of the week, contribution. Menopause is an opportunity to step into the wise woman role. You have a more meaningful position in the community. Your life should have purpose and your existence should enhance the life of others. And what is really interesting is that contributing also reduces your mortality rate. One study, the Berlin Aging Study, found that looking after grandchildren reduces your mortality rate by 37%. And this reduced mortality rate also included non-grandparents and childless older adults who looked after other people's grandchildren. It's a win-win situation. If you feel your life needs more purpose and you're interested in contributing, here are a few ideas to get started. You can look at volunteering your time. You might like to reach out to maybe a local animal shelter to see if they need help. Local schools always need volunteers to help with reading programs, canteens, religion, ethic classes. There are also charity events you can participate in. In Sydney, we do the City to Surf Fun Run, and you can either contribute as a volunteer on the day or as a runner. It's win-win and both are contributing. Maybe you want to share your knowledge. Do you have an interest in the arts or tourism or history? Many museums, historical locations and tourist areas need volunteers to help educate people about the area of interest. Could you mentor an up-and-coming person in your field? This is something that I've done previously and I've had great satisfaction in taking on students and seeing them blossom into practitioners. You might want to start a support group. That's kind of what I'm doing now, supporting women as we all transition together into menopause. But a favourite of mine with contributing is actually responsible travel. And it's something that I do regularly. And it's possibly something that you could join me with in the future. Although I've got a few goals I want to reach before I organise a an overseas trip to help out. But what I have done in the past is in Vietnam, I volunteered at a local orphanage. I actually went there to play with the bigger kids, but due to my knowledge, I ended up looking after the high-demand babies and children that were affected by Agent Orange. It's a different take on a holiday, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. It's something about giving, knowing that you're not going to be receiving. It's just selfless giving, and it's so rewarding and heart-filling. On another trip, I went to Thailand. I went to the Gibbon Rehabilitation Project. And although I only spent a day here, they really prefer volunteers to stay for 3 months due to the amount of training they need to look after the animals. So it's on my bucket list of something to go back and do when I've got more time to spare. Currently, I'm actively involved with Hands Across the Water, and this is an Australian charity that financially supports orphanages around Thailand. And twice I've been sponsored to ride my bike from Bangkok to Khao Lak. This is over 500 Ks, and this took 5 days. And again, it was just such an amazing experience. The camaraderie with the other riders, like the other riders are going to be friends for life. And I love catching up with them. They're an extension of my family. And also the children at the orphanage at our final destination. These rides really have been, apart from the birth of my daughter, the best thing I've ever done in my life. And especially if you are struggling with fatigue, sometimes it is really just the lack of purpose. And by having something to do, you have a sense of being, and it's just so fulfilling. I absolutely love it. Other ways to get involved is donating your money. Consider sponsoring someone who's making a difference. Donate directly to causes that you believe in. Even something as simple as choosing what you buy. Are you buying environmentally earth-friendly products that are helping to sustain our environment and planet Earth, rather than chemical-laden products that are destroying the Earth and destroying the future, really, for our future generations? So anyway, my tip of the week is to contribute, to volunteer in whatever way fills your soul. We really need to talk about lifestyle considerations to improve your energy. And the first one is sleep. Obviously, if you're not getting a good night's sleep, you're not going to have great energy the next day. So if sleep is something you're struggling with, please go back and listen to episode number 7, where we focus on sleep specifically. Mindset. Low moods cause low energies. Start making changes in your outlook on life. Women with purpose and passion live longer and healthier lives, and more energetic lives as well. Think about what is dragging you down. What's taking all your energy? Is it a bad relationship? Is it a toxic job? What changes do you need to make in order to get your energy back? Gratitude for things that are working well. Even if it's just the fact that the sun rose today. Gratitude is so important. Something else that is really important is exercise, but it's a balancing act. We need some, but we really don't want to overdo it. So start with something simple like a walk in nature and do it regularly, and build over time as your energy levels also build. Consider your environment. Fatigue is the number one symptom of a toxic environment. Is your house filled with mold? How many toxic substances are in your kitchen, bathroom, garage? It's time to ditch them and find chemical-free alternatives. Have you ever tested your electromagnetic field? Is your Wi-Fi on 24/7? Are you zapping yourself? Let's talk about nutrition. It's time to ditch the sugar and stimulants. I understand that you might currently be using these as a crutch to get through your day. Maybe start this on a day you can lounge around the house. Ultimately, to get well, they have to go. And I find women fit into 2 categories. There's the ones that quit cold turkey, get it over and done with sooner and feel better quicker. And those that want to reduce first. As long as you get off sugary foods, I don't mind which road you take. But let me tell you, overall, the fast withdrawers, the ones that go cold turkey, seem to suffer less overall. Add to this the removal of processed, deep-fried, food-like substances. It's time for a fresh approach. Lots of veggies, some fruit, and good quality animal proteins and beneficial fats. It goes without saying that I recommend these are all organic. If you want more detail about diet, please go back and listen to podcast episode number 3, Nutrition for Menopause. Thank you for listening to my rant today. I appreciate your time and I'm grateful for you joining my tribe. If you want to be in the draw to win a 3-month personalised consultation package with me, you have until Thursday the 15th of August to subscribe, rate and review. You then need to copy and paste your review onto the clinic Facebook page. Good luck! Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and is not intended to replace medical advice.